This is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today I'm here with Rodney D'Souza, Managing Director of the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at TCU. The Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at TCU has a mission to promote an entrepreneurial culture in pursuit of value-centered creation. Rodney, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Hall.
So where are you calling from today?
So right now I'm on our beautiful campus at TCU. We're in the Neeley School of Business.
Great. That's in Fort Worth, is that right?
That is correct, yes.
Great. So tell us more about your background. What led you to this place?
So I got my start mostly in tech entrepreneurship and started and sold a couple companies in that space. From there, I tried my hand at CPG stuff, some beverage stuff as well. And then I jumped onto the other side of the table and started investing with some good friends of mine, Brad Zapp, who I think you had on your podcast a few years ago, George Hagan, and Daniela Yoder. And I've also been in academia for about a decade now. And I currently run the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at TCU, which is a top-ranked entrepreneurship program in the nation for both undergrads as well as graduate students.
Well, great. So tell us more about the Institute for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at TCU. What do you guys do there?
So we are housed at the Neeley School of Business, but our mandate is university-wide. So we work with every single college across TCU's campus, including the med school. And we help with providing students, faculty, and staff with access to resources and also to help train them on a mindset of what it takes to be entrepreneurial. We are founded based on what I like to call the 3 C's for our foundation. One is we are cross-campus. So we work with every college across campus. We are co-curricular. So what you learn in the classroom, you come and practice in our sandbox per se, right? With access to resources, with access to mentorship and workshops and things of that nature. And also we involve our community in a very big way and meaningful way. So we get a lot of guest speakers on campus. We have a lot of mentors coming on. We have our students interning with local startups in the region. We work with founders and we work with investors, right? So we really involve and engage our community to a large extent.
Well, great. Well, tell us more about the Horned Frog Investment Network.
So yes, Horned Frog Investment Network was something that we started about a year ago. It was in the works for more than 3 years since I got here, but we finally dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's and got it through the university system. Think of the Horned Frog Investment Network as an angel group meets a traditional VC fund, right? So in angel groups, you have this group mentality where you've got the angel investors working together, looking for deals, and they'll meet once every so often and look at deals and invest or not. What we did is we bolted on a VC component to that where we have our students who are trained, MBA students who are trained in things like deal sourcing, due diligence, term sheet negotiation, and all those kind of things. And they're the ones who are sourcing deals from across the nation, across the world. So we get, access to the top deals in the nation, bring them in, do our due diligence on them, and then pass them down to the network. So currently we've invested in, I think, 7 or 8 deals so far, and we've invested about $3.5 million.
That's great. And so what's the potential opportunity here with that network? What do we hope to achieve?
So, one of the things, when I got here about 5-ish years ago was, there's a lack of capital, right? Especially at the early stages for startup companies and things. But also, if you look at it on the flip side, there is a lot of capital here, but it's just not being deployed in the VC space, right? In the angel space. So we look at our mandate as educating both the entrepreneurs as well as the investors. So what does an asset class of venture capital look like? So, we have really in-depth sessions with investors to say, this is what VC investments look like. This is what you need to look for when you're looking at deals. These are red flags that you look at, right? Because most of them have traditionally invested in things like real estate, oil and gas, right? And those kind of things out here, and just haven't had access to good deals, haven't had access to deals that have been vetted, deals that have gone through this due diligence process. So bringing that aspects to it, we've been able to get a lot of individuals engaged, a lot of family offices engaged in what we do, and sort of just engaging them to make sure they understand the value of VC as an asset class.
Great. So you see a lot of investors out there coming into the startup space. What advice do you give them before they write that check?
That's a good question. So what we try and do is sort of walk them through what to look for, per se, right, in these early stage deals. The importance of things like the team. Especially in early stages, you have to be comfortable because you're betting a lot on this team. Understanding the market size, understanding projected growth of the market size, the business model. How does the company make money? What do the margins look like? Timing. Now, this is a difficult thing to do, but sort of understanding what the timing looks like and do research on trends and things of that nature. Also, and this is very important, is fundraising history for these startups, right? So how much money have they raised? Who is on their cap table? What have they done with the fund so far, right? And sort of most importantly is the fit for sort of their portfolio. Does this company fit their portfolio in diversifying what they're looking to do? So we look at all those different things and try and make sure that the investors understand those kind of things as well.
And what's the impact on the students from this program?
Oh, man, brilliant question. So like I said, all our programs are co-curricular, which means our students are implementing what they learn in the classroom into one of our programs, or many of our programs. So for this particular program, we have an MBA class set up, and currently Joe Dickerson is teaching that class. And, they learn, like I said, everything from due diligence, deal sourcing, term sheet negotiation, understanding all these different aspects of deals. And from that class of about 25 or 30, we pick 2 or 3 associates every year, right? So it's a rigorous process to go through and be picked as associates for the Entrepreneurship Investment Network. Now, those associates are the ones who are going out deal sourcing and things, but they're also sitting at the same table with really large family offices, with really sort of, large VC funds, individual investors. So they are not only sort of doing all these things on the front end, but they're learning a lot as they go through the process as well. And what that does is makes them sort of prime targets, per se, for the VC funds moving to the region, for the large family offices, for all these different investors coming into the region, because Texas, as you know, is growing, leaps and bounds in this space especially. And all our associates have been picked up by funds and family offices and things like that. So it's really sort of preparing our next generation to be ready and engaged when the opportunities come about.
Great. So how many students are impacted each year?
So again, we've only been doing this for a year, and we've had 4 students go through this program already. 2 are currently sort of the junior associates, and 2 have gone through it in the past.
That's great. That's great. So I guess to switch gears a little bit, one question I always ask is, what online information source do you find most helpful in your work?
We've got a couple of those, Paul. So, PitchBook has been extremely, important for what we do, but that's for the On-Frog Investor Network side of things, right? Also, the ACA is very important for what we do, that side of things. But on the other side, so, journal articles are very important for the things that we do. We refer a lot to the GCEC, which is the Global Consortium for Entrepreneurship Centers. And they have a lot of information, a lot of best practices, a lot of models for all the entrepreneurship centers across the globe and how they're working and doing their stuff. We also have organizations like USASB, which is the United States Association of Small Business and Entrepreneurship. And we work with them very closely, again, for best practices, models, and things of that nature. So, because we've got multiple programs like accelerator programs, like training programs, right? So we sort of pick and choose from a large number of different online and virtual sort of resources.
Well, great. Well, you see a lot of different business models and new technologies coming out. If you could start a business tomorrow, what would that business be?
That's a great question. One, I'm too old to start a business, man. It's difficult. It's extremely difficult to do it. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. And I'm just too comfortable right now, right, than to jump into something like that. But that being said, I love AI. I love the space that's sort of jump into right now. So if anything, I'd probably jump into something like that going forward.
Great. Well, when you put the the Horned Frog Investment Network together, what's one thing it did that you didn't expect?
So very interestingly, when we were starting this thing, we thought, deal flow and sort of access to investors. Those would be the two big problems that we have, right? And that's every sort of angel network. What we realized is the deal flow part of it was actually not just interesting. It was also, there were a lot of different VC funds, a lot of different angel groups from around the nation who, one, because of prior networks and relationships, but also because of TCU's stamp on it, a lot of them wanted to engage. A lot of them were sending us really, really good deal flow. So that was really interesting and kind of surprising, honestly, because we got access to some amazing deals just out of the start, but nobody knowing who we are, right? First time round. So that was something that I really found interesting.
Well, great. Well, in the last minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
So, Hall, we are in an amazing marketplace, right? Fort Worth is growing tremendously. And we've got access to all sorts of resources, right? All sorts of resources, both on the entrepreneur side as well as the investor side. There's things going on here that not many people know about. And I think shows like yours are really, really helpful because they're bringing to the forefront all the cool things that are going on, right? Things like the Tech Fort Worth and the Cowtown Angels and the stuff that they're doing with their incubator. Things like the TechStarts program, right, that Trade's working on. Things that Cameron is doing through his organization. I just think that there needs to be more sort of emphasis on what all is going on so we can continue to build on these different things. And really kudos to you guys for sort of working with all these different organizations, trying to make sure that everybody knows what's going on so it rises the boat for everybody.
Great. Well, how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
So the best way would be to email us if they're interested in the Horned Frog Investor Network. It is hfin@tcu.edu. That would be the easiest way. If they just want to reach out to me, it's Rodney.D'Souza, rodney.D'Souza@tcu.edu.
Well, great. We'll put those contact details in the show notes. I want to thank you for joining us today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Thank you very much, all. Really appreciate this.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Paul T. Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.